Octung, baby! Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This one, if you might have guessed from my Octung, baby reference, it's Patterns of Force. Big favorite of some people. You'll see what we think of it. Maybe it's a favorite of yours. Maybe not. Something else to check out. It's all been written. The deadline's coming up. You can still get into it. You can be part of the network if you're not already. You're listening, so obviously you're kind of in your own way, but this is a way to get involved. It's a short story contest. This is the second one. Go check it out. Details at IABDpresents.com. Also, speaking of old favorites, Dirty Story Night. Yeah, we're kind of on a little break. We took a little break there for a while, but there's a great archive of stuff. Get caught up, and then maybe, speaking of getting involved, you can get involved in our next Dirty Story Night. Anyway, go check them out in the archives, IABDpresents.com. And while you're doing that, go to patreon.com/IABD to support us and keep all this tent coming at you. You might even be supporting your own tent at this point. Here we go. Octung, baby. Patterns of Force. It's all been trekked before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This week, Patterns of Force. Nazis, so we got lots of people here.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Colleen and Jessica.
And Jimmy-Jerome.
Hey.
First impressions of the Nazis.
Wait,
Well, I guess they got an unfair shake. Is my takeaway from this.
I don't think I've seen it since the 80s.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it doesn't come up in top 10 lists. I mean,
No.
I see the pictures a lot, and it's one of those, oh yeah, I remember that episode where they did this, but no one really does because no one ever watched it or has watched it since. So,
Like, of course, in the 60s, they're going to revisit Nazis from the 40s.
yeah, it's a natural thing, and they had two different guys actually developing the story, the idea of this. The one guy was developing it, and then he didn't get that far. So the guy who ended up getting the writing credit, John Meredith Lucas, I think, they're like, oh, you've actually got it more developed. Okay, you go run with it and whatever. And he started with the idea that Gil espouses, which I guess he read somewhere that the Nazis were supposedly the most efficient normal government ever. The thing I was reading today was like, yeah, really, that's not true. Nothing backs that up.
Efficient.
They were efficient at killing, but they weren't necessarily...
I mean, the argument that they make sounds good.
It does.
About the destroyed
It does.
nation suddenly is one step away from taking over the world.
Right.
I think we could break that argument apart.
Sure,
pretty
and it
easily.
has been, yeah.
But it sounds good on the surface, which is a lot of propaganda.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that goes well with this series, or with this episode, and what they're trying to say.
Yeah. But
You
yeah.
disagree?
No, I agree. You're saying exactly what is true and correct about this, but it's just I keep kind of glancing at my own notes and thinking about what I guess the optics is problematic in certain
Oh,
ways.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think
what's
even then it
happening.
was probably still like,
Yeah.
oh, jeez.
I think it would have been a far more interesting episode, but not one they could have ever gotten away with on television, if we saw Gil's intended society of peaceful Nazis
Right.
that have figured out how to make Nazism work.
Right.
I would really like to see that,
Right.
I think, all right.
but it won't ever happen.
That's a better alternate episode than mine, which was it's a planet that's based on Stalinism.
Making me kind of skip ahead to my final note, which is actually one of the serious ones, which is,
Yeah.
I don't know, the thought is, it seems like an oxymoron, really. It feels like the base, how can you have the basis of something like a peaceful Nazi society, because that seems like you still have to persecute somebody to accomplish that. I think the whole origin of that is finding a common enemy to scapegoat to get to that point.
Yeah.
So,
And
How
we
do
know
you-
it still works today, Trump.
Yeah, unfortunately, this episode's still timely.
Oh, when they were talking about John Gill, that he was delivering nonsense sentences that didn't match one another.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's Trump.
oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Oh,
Fits
yeah.
in too well, doesn't it?
I mean, the parallels are too easy to make, unfortunately.
Where they're like, oh, the Fuhrer's telling us to do the exact opposite of everything we've been doing this whole time. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can live how the Fuhrer wanted us to. Peaceful.
That was-
I'm like, but you still hated the Zayons,
Yeah.
not the Zions.
Right. It
You
was
still
such a...
hated the Zayons.
Zeon.
And
Completely
you wanted
different.
them to die.
Totally not at all a reference to Jewish people.
No.
Not
Not
at
at all.
So I was hoping you could spell whatever it was that they were actually saying in the episodes. It sounded like maybe 4 different things they were saying at different points.
Zayon?
Yeah.
It's
So
Zeon.
oh, so it all right. Zeon.
So almost Jewish. Yes.
So Zion, I guess, is supposed to be the root of that. So
And then there's the Ecosian, which I don't know where that word comes from.
I guess that's the alien race that they were referring to that came in, and they're referring to them as Zeons.
Yeah, the Zeons were the alien race that came to the planet.
Who
still look just like the Ecosians.
Yes.
Who look just like humans.
Wait, so the Ecosians were the
natives.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, Ecosians were the natives, right? Yeah.
I think so.
And Zeons were the aliens.
Yeah.
It's not like they were saying Saiyan at some sort like Dragon Ball Z at some point too, like Super Saiyans. Like, well, all right, well.
Well, yeah, and every time Kirk said Nazis, cracked me up. I want my scalps.
That's how they. Yeah, that's where. Of course, the Glorious Bastards ripped off.
Always,
of course.
We were talking about the end. I was really bothered by something Jessica touched on about just how quickly it wrapped up. The whole, like you mentioned, the line.
We've had some nice, clean, quick wrap-ups, but this had to be the quickest wrap-up to an ugly thing. It's like, V-Day, or VE and VJ days, even then, I mean, those people are like, all right, I guess we're all good. We're done with the war.
They have to get captured and escape so many times. Because we eliminated a couple of those, so we had time to tie up the story.
Yeah, but you don't just switch off hating someone so much that you want to kill them.
No.
That's not.
Well, they've only been hating him for a couple of years. It's not like it was deep-seated hatred.
Still.
Well, since you mentioned that actually ties into something I mentioned, like semi-humorously, I thought. I mean, just the idea that they were kind of they didn't sound right at the beginning. Maybe it was just the first couple of actors, but they sounded so robotic and dispassionate about what they were doing.
Yes.
It didn't sound right without they weren't doing a German accent, of course.
Sure.
And it was just sort of like hey, we have to round up these people here. I'm going to take, these are Zeons.
The scene when they had to salute and they were like,
Yeah.
"Sure." Like, I'm like, no one in this cast wanted to do that. They were all like, "Oh, it hurts."
Especially Nemo was like,
that.
not doing it.
So for the first,
Nemo's was very happy.
oh God, yeah.
And there was no one on the street that wasn't a soldier.
Yeah.
There were no regular people walking around
Even
anywhere.
their regular casual salute was just kind of like, eh. I'm just flipping my hand.
So for the first half of that, it was a completely different sort of thing. It was more like there was a casual version and there was a Führer version. So that I put down as more like hi instead of Heil. It was like hi. It was like,
Hi, Hitler.
Hey, how's it going? Every time they were saluting, and then they were like full on at the end for the videos. Like, we're so into this. Ugh. I can't even do it right now.
Then
I can't even make myself do it.
They were just like,
there was some full on like diagonal
But they were still lackluster in it.
Well,
they're like, I don't want to.
Yeah, they know. They didn't seem like a very solid group. And
I'm
as
not
you said,
into this.
everybody was involved. Was there any way this whole thing didn't fall apart even if they had an exposed Gil? Because there were so many spies within their ranks.
Right.
Like so many Zions or secret or occasion.
I wasn't sure about that. So they were saying that guy that was leaving that last time was kind of giving that look like, he was actually with them.
Yeah, the one that was like, now we can live the way we're meant to. Yeah, he was...
One day at a time. One day at a time.
So he and the girl were both high-ranking members of the party, but were both secretly spies. I'm like, they would have... I mean, if Kirk and them hadn't showed up, this probably still would have played out the same way.
Well, I like the idea of to try and support in the worst possible way the ending being as clean as it is like the people see Melicon killing the Fuhrer or whatever, and somebody comes on and says Melicon was a bad guy, and it's like an Anchorman when Ron Burgundy says, "Go F yourself, San Diego," and the whole city finally turned, "Oh, you're the worst, Ron Burgundy," after they loved him. It had to be that same reaction on the entire planet, like, what? I can't believe this! I've been hating Zeons for no reason! I hate you, Melicon! And they all switched over. That had to be what happened.
It's actually not bad.
I like to think that there was a bar somewhere
exactly
where Zeon was beating Ecosian was beating the crap out of Zion, and he stops with the fist raised, collar tucked, sees the TV. Oh, hey, buddy!
And then they start hiring, exactly. And the Ecosians that have been persecuted for this time are like, I can look back. It's all good.
You killed my mother yesterday.
We're all good.
They let her under the bridge.
We're all good here.
I can see it was a misunderstanding now. That seems like a charming guy. I get it.
Don't worry, we're gonna build a memorial museum to remind us of the atrocities.
Yeah, memorials to the Ecosian officers and so forth.
Within years there'll be people saying this never happened. So, if it's despite what Kirk and Spock made me like, there's no way this could have happened. How could this society be here? Even though just 2 episodes ago we had this happen on another planet in a piece of the action.
Well,
Which we
that
talked
was
about
a
it.
totally different situation.
I actually have a note there. I said that it seems like the people who have received the Nazi manual instead of the gangster manual.
Exactly.
In this planet.
Exactly.
That was my guess going like from the first opening
Different
scene.
writer, though.
Yeah.
We've only seen one other episode by this writer, and it was the Changeling, the
Oh.
Nomad episode.
I like that the non-interference directive got thrown out casually early on.
Sure.
Got adhered to very severely. Then Kirk just decided, nope,
Totally missed it.
getting rid of it. And then Gil brought it back at the end. I thought we could break it. We probably shouldn't do this anymore. Good idea. But we're going to do it very soon anyway. I don't know what our next episode is, but I bet they break the
So-
Prime Directive again soon.
Well, but once they realized
Did he
Gil
have
was
one?
the one who did this, I think the Prime Directive was thrown out the window because now they're trying to repair what had already...
That's true.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true. That's fair.
But why not just beam Gil up and heal him back instead of like Kirk going, I'm ignoring all medical advice and he's probably going to die even if he's not shot.
I
Because I'm
thought,
going to inject
well,
him.
they started with the great idea of Spock and Kirk go down, hey, we're going to put these transponders inside you.
Sure.
So anytime we need you, we're going to beam you right back up.
And then, yeah.
Then they decide they have to take both out to create the laser in the thing.
Right.
It's like,
Are
there
Are
were a
you
lot of...
killing yourself?
There were, yeah, that
Coming
was,
back in.
there were a lot of weird
Subject.
devices like that one. Like, that was a weird device that, like, okay, now they need to get their communicators back and everything to do that. It probably didn't take, I
Did
don't
they
know.
ever get their phasers back?
I don't think they did, which is another reason to
'Cause they
fear
made a
for
point
what's
of,
going to
like,
happen.
We gotta get our phasers.
Yeah, I don't think they
ever
did. And then at the end, when Gil's in the state of animation and McCoy's like, well, I can only revive him so much, I don't want to kill him. It's like, it doesn't matter. You either kill him or don't kill him. If he dies, who cares? You're still screwed. And then he's like, well, Spock, hey, Spock, let's do a mind meld. And then I love they cut away, so we don't have to watch it. And they come back, he's like, I put him in a state where he can't say anything of his own volition. He can only respond to your questions. Like, why? Why did you put him in that state? Other than for that device
Or
to make
even
it
how.
impossible
And
for
then
him.
Kirk tells him to talk. And I'm like, you have to ask him questions, Kirk.
And this was another very Shatner.
Can you
being
talk,
Shatner.
please?
What would
Shatner's
you tell them?
Gil, you have to talk to them. You must tell them the truth.
That wasn't the worst overacting we got, though, from Shatner. The worst overacting was when Spock standing on his back.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, hurry up!
And I thought that overarching for the episode, I feel like it was a conscious choice to be like, if we're touching this terrible subject, we got to have some stupid comedy in there, which we laughed at a lot, intentionally and otherwise.
Right.
Because, like, when they were discussing their plan, and then when Spock was going to get on his back, they were just like, oh, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to do that. Oh, and the weather, it's blue, and yes, it's sky. Yeah, I'm just going to bend over. Okay, that
Well,
wasn't.
and I'm sorry our former co-host Amanda wasn't here because she would have loved to see. This is the one time where Nimoy doesn't have a shirt off in the entire
They were
original
topless.
series, and they both were together,
Probably.
and Spock was on top, so she
It
would
should
have
have
loved it.
looked like those whips were hurting them. They're like smacking
I
them, they're
know.
just like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. They're brave soldiers, especially,
Yeah, you'd
especially
still see a
Spock
wince.
was sort of
Yeah.
like,
You'd still see a wince.
And
There
Spock's,
was.
I did.
I think there was a
that's the
wince.
first. I didn't notice it obviously years ago, but Spock's green lashes.
His green
Those were.
blood.
It
And
had-
his skin was noticeably different color
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
on the subject of comedy, I have something for Jess to read for my first comment.
Oh, top one.
Yes.
Nazis are super exciting, according to me.
Yes. as we were getting into the episode, this is going to be super exciting because of the...
There were a lot of
Yes.
funny lines, like
I was excited.
when Spock said to Kirk, "You should make a very convincing Nazi."
I
That's
should
funny.
hope
That's like the
That
producers kind of
seems
funny.
somewhat
Spock was pretty
racist,
funny.
but
Oh.
they always make racist comments about
Right,
Spock, like
so-
the helmet covers a multitude
Yeah.
of sins.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So it's about time. And I did enjoy the episode where Kirk looks at Spock. You look quite well for a man who's been utterly destroyed.
Mhm. Well, then what do they?
I didn't actually understand that one.
Where they basically said, "Oh yeah, we saw there was a spaceship up in space and we blew it up.
It's like
It's
Oh,
been utterly
yeah.
destroyed."
Yeah.
It's how
Hmm.
North Korea does.
Right.
Oh, that's
and
right,
we
yeah,
won
yeah.
all of
Oh.
those.
Except
Okay,
Doken
yeah,
took one
I see,
over
yeah.
and actually deal with the real
Gotcha,
threat.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Sorry.
Spock was funny throughout this because we'll make a human of you yet. I hope not.
Yeah.
Or they're like, you're not a Scion or Xeon, obviously.
He
So
was
much
kind of-
sass. I love it.
Yeah, and that end wrap up with him and McCoy was definitely one of those. Just like, oh, we have to.
man,
Because Spock's, it's one of those we've talked about where it's like Kirk's saying the thing Spock should be answering,
yeah.
rather than the other way around. That's like
Because
Spock.
Shatner wanted the good line.
Yeah, Spock knows the logic here, but it just was so falsely created.
Well, they're explaining what the point of the episode
Right.
was in case we hadn't
in case
noticed.
you didn't get it.
In my head, I'm going, oh, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And then, just in case you didn't already understand that from the first rewording, then they repeat that one
Yes.
too. And it's like, you already told us that. In other words, you don't have to say that as well.
The only good part of that was Spock getting the last zinger and about the line of humans, and then adding in Lee Kwan, who
Lee Kwan was a World War III general.
that's what I thought.
Our future,
So-
which is so rare.
Finally, yeah,
Wait,
we've talked
has
about it early
that-
on.
excited.
Has that been, so that's been corroborated in some other point then?
Actually, looking at the official Star Trek reference of what's canon and what's not, Lee Kwan is actually mentioned in a second episode as a dictator on par with those other bad guys, but they don't get into what he did on screen. There are novels that fill in the gap and explain he's a World War III general. We just know on screen that he did something bad at the level of these despots sometime in our future.
I like that they did that then. I mean, at least, they don't do enough of that, or at least they haven't seemed to have done enough.
No, they haven't, and I love that they did that.
So about going way back to your subject of devices.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I was asking about here, let's see, what was it? So John Gill, if we're going for the storyline purposes, why would he feel the need to reproduce Nazis that exactly,
Right.
down to the symbology and everything
Yes.
else? It wouldn't be necessary. It's just like you should be getting the essential strategies down for them. It's like he was that uncreative. There's like, well, I have to go.
Right.
We need swastikas, we need the armbands, we need all the terminology.
There's also been no examples of successful
Right.
governments since then in the intervening 300 years either.
Sure.
Well, no, but this was the most efficient
yeah.
since then, yes. So,
Efficient, it lasted for, 12 years, and it was, I wanted to say completely eliminated, but I can't say that.
So my as I'm thinking it through, I mean, I guess from the writing standpoint, the device is probably used to be like sort of a shorthand to world building. So people
Yeah.
go, oh, we know exactly what they're about. We know exactly what they're probably doing off screen over here to all these other people because they're doing exactly what the Nazis
And to
did.
get
So
the visceral
yeah,
reaction.
that too.
Which we still do.
Yeah.
Anytime
Yeah.
in anything, even if it's not actually Nazis.
Yes.
You're like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what? We need some black and red symbols.
Yeah.
Like V for Vendetta. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
With very
failure
sharp angles.
inspired by Nazis.
With very sharp angles.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think they have one piece of technology on this planet, though, that's way in advance of ours.
I think I wrote it down. Was it?
It's the fact that their uniforms magically fit to whoever
Oh.
put them on. Perfectly.
That's
You're like,
fair.
that's
Tailoring
not what I was
is
saying.
amazing.
That's
This
not what I was
uniform
going
Joe,
for.
yeah. I was going to say that earlier. I
Wow.
think maybe you and I have the same thought. The view screens?
Actually, that's pretty good too.
Yeah, because I
was,
thought the view screens was a cool thing because it was very 1984, I thought. Because
yeah.
it's something we haven't seen, I don't think, in the other episodes, which we should have.
I was going to say
Because I've been seeing
They
something
kept
we
it
have
black
now.
and white, like tellers
Of course, yeah, because they
use.
use stock footage, but...
Yeah.
What
I was going to say the camcorder.
Oh,
Oh.
right.
That was amazingly small for the 60s. Like, why would
That's
they have
true.
that?
Right.
Yeah, right.
They came up with that idea. The construction is actually pretty close
They
to
were
like
so
smaller
funny.
camcorders, like after like late 80s or so. I mean,
I'm not sure when
It's,
that came about, but that's a good point.
I remember like
well,
when I was growing
they
up.
had camcorders like that
But, I
back
mean,
then, right?
Super
Like-
8s or whatever kind
Yeah.
of things. but
Okay,
but
I mean,
but still.
growing up from
Yeah.
my household, like 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, the big
late
heavy.
80s. Yeah, we had like
Oh, yeah.
it was like still like a
Giant-
shoulder, like
oh,
kind of
yeah.
bigger than
The
that.
harness.
So
Big enough for a VHS.
Yeah.
They were funny with their lights. Like, he's like, I need
Oh.
lights. And they're like, yes, you do need lights.
And then they like had him hold it up and immediately lowered it, and like how did anyone not realize that these guys were fake?
well, I think it's because the woman was really selling it. I noted that it was like they were special therapeutic massaging lights because she was like, oh yes.
And the fact that there were only 7 people at that big function, that probably helped
I
too.
And 6 of them were probably spies.
He works for us.
The only one that doesn't work for us is the bad guy.
Again, it was funny because they get put in the jail and it's just them and the one guy they actually saw get
Yeah.
taken away to jail.
Well, and it's really funny how they make sure to stress that we know very few other people in the organization, but we know all these guys are spies.
It's really everyone. Everyone except Fear and that guy.
I think he gave him the secret wink or something, like the eyebrow raise, or like just like a little Morse code or something with the eyebrows.
I had forgotten when they Abram or whatever and she ends up shooting him and they think, oh my god, they killed Abram. And then it's like, oh, we had to test your loyalty or whatever. I forgot about that part. I wasn't that surprised, but I had forgotten about it.
Surprised me.
Surprised
It
me too,
surprised me
actually.
too. I was like, oh, they've been captured again. They just got out.
Was it really necessary for Abram to tell Isaac? And I don't know if this was part of the ruse.
Again,
or really
the Jewish names.
Yeah, well, that was
Isaac,
Davod,
I-S-A-K,
yeah.
and Abram, A-B-R-O-M, but
Oh
Just
just
in
in
God.
case. And Isaac, yeah.
just
Why?
in case you didn't
Just
get
in
it.
case you didn't
Just-
get it.
But was it necessary for him to tell Isaac? And I don't know if this was, or I don't know if this was necessary, or if it was part of the ruse. But when he's like, "Your wife was shot today," she was to be married to her. She was shot. Oh, by the way, she laid there for 5 hours
Yeah.
while they spit on her. And now you want us to help these strangers? One doesn't relate to the other.
Well, and you
And the
think-
gore.
Is it really
And
necessary?
we watched her blood. And
Yeah,
she was in
is
such
that
pain,
necessary?
And she kept screaming, "No, stop!"
Well, you'd think his first line would be, "They're only wearing uniforms. They're not actually."
Right, yeah.
Like, that explains the
Yeah.
situation real quick.
Well, as part of the, I
This
guess,
might explain why this planet was easily convinced that this was the way to go.
the 5 hours, it's supposed to, I guess, help inform the audience. First of all, the level of persecution that they're enduring,
Right.
and also to sort of go to sort of apologize for what they're doing. Look how magnanimous these people are in their persecution. Like, well, we can't stoop to their level.
Right,
We're gonna
I
be-
guess
that
so,
kind
yeah.
of thing is like devices again, but
There were a lot of them.
I like the beginning when the guy is running from the Nazis. And he falls down the street for a Kirk and Spock. He's like, "Hide! Hide!" And then the Nazis get there 2 seconds later, and they don't look for anybody else hiding. Like, they don't hear him because they're around the corner.
That goes back to Jessica's point of they're just like, hey, stop. They're just
Yeah.
like, they're not even
Well, I like how they
self-thinking.
straight up mentioned, they're like, shouldn't that guy have recognized us? Because we already
Yeah.
captured
But that was
disguise?
explained, like, "Oh yeah, no, he's another spy."
well, hide is just like
Oh,
like
that's
that's the version of Yiddish. It's just some sort of Zeon gibberish.
Oh.
He'd be saying anything.
You're right.
You know, hide, what? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I read that there's some theory, and maybe this is from outside canon, but that, that planets can develop similar to Earth or whatever, similar things.
Sure.
They're like, oh no, it's an impossibility. So they completely discredit that right off the bat. And then it's like, but humanoids can show up on every planet we visit. They can look very much like us. Same, even two planets in the same system.
But
That's
I
all
mean,
it's
we have cultures that have developed similarly across the world
Right,
without
right.
contacting
Right,
each other.
exactly.
So
There are
it's-
certain- there's certain
that's
commonalities.
contact that we know. Some
Yeah.
traveler could
Right.
have traveled between the
Right.
two.
And there are
but
some
still,
other
it's feasible,
mystical explanations.
But we
for
do
this.
know in the universe there's always a male and a female. That's what we've learned.
I was gonna say
from
the
past-
Like
Except when there's
unconscious.
that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, there is a very feminist trend over these last couple of episodes. I noticed 2 episodes in a row where they didn't feel the need to do soft focus on the women in the episode.
Oh,
during
yeah.
the introduction.
Wow, super feminine.
Yeah, very progressive. They realized what they were doing was like, you know what? I think she looks good enough on her own.
Well, what was the woman's name in this episode? Davos? Is that her? Yeah.
Davod?
Yeah,
Davod?
she was a leader of the resistance. Which,
Oh, her. Yeah,
Who's that?
played by Valora Nolan, played Doris, and she's known for Beach Party and Muscle Beach Party.
she stopped acting not
As
long
well as
after
this
this episode. Yeah,
Yeah, she had one more credit after this as girl lifting dress in flashback.
there you go. I
In a movie called Up Your Teddy Bear.
Well, I guess it could mean a lot of things. Lifting
She was
a
also
dress
in a movie
like
called Sex and the College Girl.
Okay, that's probably not.
I read the story about her name and I
That could
didn't
mean many things.
I didn't process it well enough. But it was something about her mother. She was born during World War II or something. Her mom heard a speech delivered by Churchill, and he mentioned Valor in it. So she wanted to name her after that. And so her birth certificate, though, it just said girl's name. They called her Valor, and then she just added an A. So she became Valora or Valora. But I thought, they're like, oh, you're aliens. Oh, you're from outer space, blah, blah, blah. Then when McCoy beams down, she's like, oh, now I believe you. But she wasn't that blown away by transporter technology. I know they had crewed, like, they could travel planet to planet, but she should have been blown away by that, I thought.
So let's
She was
talk
going-
about the makeup of the landing party again.
Always
Okay,
a
so
problem.
first of all, always has to be Kirk and Spock. No security, no historians, and like we've got 700 people on the ship or 500 people, whatever it is at this point.
Sure.
And the only one that can't pass for human is Spock. But let's bring him anyway, because also Major has to do is demand for no reason that he take off his helmet, and we're going to be,
yeah.
which made no sense that he demanded his helmet come off.
Well,
When
no,
everybody else
it's
kept wearing it.
it's because the Nazis are so smart.
Well, that's a valid question.
Oh,
Why
Who's
would he
next
think...
in the chain of command after those two?
Next would be Scotty, I believe.
Yeah.
Either Scotty or Sulu always gets left in charge, for the most part. But yeah, it was just very much like, why is it only Kirk and Spock? And then why? Okay, you got McCoy now.
Because they're boyfriends.
Because they're the leads. Because they're
Yeah,
the leads of the
right.
series. And that's the only reason. It's not the landing party that makes sense for the situation. Especially
No.
when you have to disguise.
But Kirk needs someone to call the ship and then hand him the phone.
And Spock, as a very highly trained science officer, is the perfect person to hand him the phone.
Well, did we decide why would they know that he had pointy ears under there? Why?
Yeah, there was... Yeah, I don't get the...
That's another one of those very creaky devices. Like, okay, oh, they've been
I
revealed.
feel more like they were going to
Well-
make fun of his haircut. Like, that doesn't fit with our uniform.
I was
Right,
going to say,
right,
actually, it could have been something more to the effect of like the observations he was making about the way his forehead looked and some other
Oh, his
characteristics.
stupid phrenology.
Yeah. So he was like, I want to like maybe examine your hair color, the way your head looks, all these other things, and like, oh, there's also ears. I make that all the time, bonus. That's so obvious now. I don't know.
Phrenology, the worst
yeah.
pseudoscience. Every time it shows up in anything, I'm like, oh, you're so stupid.
One other thing I found in my research, they didn't show this until the 90s in Germany.
Really?
Yeah, which makes sense, I think,
Well,
on
they-
a lot of
You
levels. Yeah.
can't show Nazi
Yeah,
anything
there's a lot
in
of
Germany, can't you?
So
Oh,
apparently
yeah.
they found a way around it with this, but yeah, they didn't show it for
Like, no flags,
a long
no...
time. Yeah,
Like currently still.
I think you can't.
I think
they
yeah.
even have their like real strict laws about like even patriotic
how far you can go.
behavior.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get too nationalistic.
Well, I can see how that would translate to. Certainly public behavior. There's probably like no displaying of that sort of thing, like around the house or out in the front lawn or whatever. But for fiction,
And maybe that's
I don't know if that's.
maybe that's the workaround.
I don't know.
And I think it was after
remember
they
seeing something
reunited, they allowed
recently
this.
they wanted to be able to. People wanted to be able to fly like flags, not Nazi flags,
right,
but
but just
German flags.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Confederate flags.
Oh God.
Lord,
I guess that would be their equivalent of that. You would think, but
Yeah, there's probably somebody over there that says it's about their heritage.
my heritage is
One of our German listeners, let us know.
I mean, the swastikas
Yeah, I could be
actually
wrong.
have a history well before the Nazis. So you
in
could,
Asia.
That's
so
a
you
fair
could think
point.
of some Asian household saying, "I want to fly this because of my heritage."
That's a fair point.
We had nothing to do with the Germans.
were there like Native Americans or something too that had some sort of similar
Might
something?
have
I
been.
think I can't remember.
Yeah, the swastika is a Buddhist symbol. So like in Korea at least, the churches all have like a giant red cross that you can see
Yeah.
sticking up so you can
okay.
identify it, and the Buddhist temples have a giant swastika sticking up out of it, and it's all lit. At night you can see where all the churches and the temples are, but they're like not.
It's a
like
shame.
This.
This
They're
is
like this.
yeah.
They're flat.
It's a shame that is so distressing, but I guess it's really not their fault, is it?
No.
Yeah, because every time I see them, I'm like, oh.
Well, it's like
Oh, yeah.
how I keep this tiny little mustache on the middle of my upper lip. I think it's really unfair that people associate that with Hitler.
Well, it's a Charlie Chaplin
Exactly.
homage.
It's a Charlie
so
Chaplin.
Obviously, yeah.
So I don't know why I get eggs thrown at me and stuff.
For the audience at home, that is completely a bit. You should look him up on Facebook and you'll see. But
A lot of Kirk's instructors, former commanders, former classmates get into trouble.
Sure do.
I mean,
Well, I think
It is
the
a
pattern
small
is Kirk
universe.
drives them insane and they run off.
I don't understand. He was such a good
That's why
instructor.
you need Spock.
Yeah.
Spock is
Well, and I think Gil is a perfect example. Dr. Gil is a perfect example of those who can't teach. And this is why they should teach. Because once they go and do, then things like this happen. Like on.
So the beginning of the episode, they describe him, and this really stuck out to me.
This
as
was hilarious.
He's a historian, and he's noted for studying cause and motivation rather than dates and events. And I'm like, that's the way we teach history now is cause and motivation. We already moved past dates and events a while ago.
What was helpful was that what was helpful was they had the picture of Dr. Gill up the whole time on the bridge. So in case anyone was wondering, what are they referencing? And then they could at the end. That was the one fade out was with that picture, as opposed to the rest of them, which were always, oh, we got caught and they have guns on us. Fade out. Oh, we got caught. They have guns on us. Fade out. Oh, we got caught again. They have guns on us. Fade out. What the hell? Clearly, that was the very sneaky way of like history repeats itself, and those who cannot remember are doomed to repeat
that's
it,
what that was
which is
about?
what they did the whole episode.
That's
They
what that was
constantly
about.
got caught.
I didn't get that.
That's exactly what
that
they were
was over
going
my
with.
head. That level. It wasn't.
I like
High level.
I like McCoy's immediate thing too when they're talking about Gil and we're like, well, we haven't heard from him in 6 months. Well, must be dead. You're right, McCoy. You know what? Pack it up. On to the next planet. Dr. McCoy's got it figured out. Must be dead. That's the only possible explanation. There's no other explanation.
Well, he's a doctor, not a. Wait.
What is it? The like comedy song? Isn't that what his line in the comedy song? He's dead.
He's dead, Jim. Yeah.
Dead, Jim.
Oh yeah. What the trekking song?
Yeah, Star
Trek
Dead.
is-
Yeah.
Scotty only got one line in this episode,
so
and very early on. So that also points to it not being as good an episode. Colleen, do you have any general thoughts? I
She's
think
shaking, she's shaking her head no for the audience.
I think that's her general thought of the episode is no.
I was going to say, the suspension of disbelief, going back to him being a historian and just not...
And choosing that.
Yes, I mean, going for that as being the most efficient way to go about things, still not being able to find any other way to do it other than reproducing everything down to the letter.
He's not imagining.
And I think it goes to Jim's thing, that would be I'm more curious as to how he made that happen. And not just the why, but the how. Like, I mean, did he get thrown in jail and he wrote his book, My Struggle? And I thought this was, along those lines, they make the point of pointing out that the Fuhrer was an alien, that Gil wasn't from there, and Hitler was born in Austria or Hungary.
And he
then
was
came
not
to Germany.
blonde and blue-eyed.
Yeah, exactly. And then he came to Germany and served in their army and then rose to power through that way. So I thought that was intentional.
One line that also stuck out to me as kind of ridiculous was, I think it was the Zeon. We're talking about, we've moved past the period of our history of war and strife, so we're not... I'm like, so that's a period. It's not like all of human history. It's just a brief period in development of society.
It's like puberty.
Where you have war.
It's like puberty.
Yeah.
We're just still stuck in it. We're still...
And we hit it at the beginning of our period, too. Like every other civilization, it's just brief.
You know, if you look at it over billions of years, it's a very brief period.
Well, and in the previous episode, Return to Tomorrow, and I took reference here.
Yeah, all the period before humans. There was no war.
Exactly.
Which I just watched today as it happens. The thing about Kirk arguing, we got past our nuclear war period, so we're advanced. We're good.
Yeah.
We beat it.
Yeah.
That whole thing is,
Dust off the
Lee
hands.
Kwan, he's over. We moved on.
Don't even think about drinking anymore. Sober 200 years. We have a non-war chip carrying around the galaxy. Then why does your ship have all these weapons? Protection. Just in case.
Now we're going to get into a Second Amendment debate here.
There we go. Well, yeah.
They have the right. They have the God-given right to have that.
To have phasers.
Phasers, yeah.
Even though they're not going to use them on anybody. They're just for recreational blowing up the ships.
That's for their heritage.
Yeah, exactly. They really like saying pigs. The
one time where Kirk's says pigs 3 times in a sentence and then he stops talking, I just want him to add pigs.
right, yeah, just really throwing it in.
They couldn't use the more offensive terms, so they just settled on pig.
Which I think is where Manson got his thing, and he started calling people pigs. Or from the Beatles song, one or the other. I was impressed how bloodless the transponder surgery was. I can get the implant being bloodless.
Yeah.
That's what I appreciate about Dr. McCoy's medicine.
Sure.
But then when they took him out using part of
When he very gently
I guess a
pulled out
screw
that
or something?
bed,
Yeah.
the bed.
Yeah.
Shoof.
And then they didn't get a tetanus shot.
It's just a nice
Yeah.
gentle...
No scar, no nothing, came right out. And then why didn't they just put him back in? I mean, what did they did they totally burn up or
It's like they took him out for the crystal that was in it or something, and they had to use both of them to do that as well.
Yes,
and
of
somehow
course. Couldn't
have
just
it
be one.
how they have it embedded in there, I guess within the screw hole.
I think you'd have to make a bigger hole to shove it back in there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They could at least just carried him around though, right?
Yeah,
in their pocket.
In their
No,
pocket.
it doesn't work unless it's under the skin.
Right. We're getting a reading, but
He's
no,
dead.
it's in his pocket. Yeah. He's dead. Move on.
He's got 60 minutes.
Dr. McCoy, will you please leave the bridge? That's the 19th person you've declared dead today without seeing them. I like that Kirk was trained in pickpocketing at the academy. And when he bumps into the guy, I'm like, Spock's going to nerve pinch him. He's like, nope. He was getting the keys. Spock still could have nerve pinched him, and then he'd have been knocked out, and they could have got the keys, and then gotten in there, and then he'd have been out of it.
Was this Jim Kirk also a hooligan before he got into Star
Yes,
Trek?
I think so.
Okay. Because I know new Jim Kirk was a hooligan.
Yeah,
before he
Jim
got
Kirk-
into Star Trek.
Jim Kirk is famous for cheating on the Kobayashi Maru test
Yeah.
at Starfleet
Yeah.
Academy. Yeah, he's not a good role model.
He learned some tricks. When he was on, what was the planet with Kodos, the Executioner? He had to, I guess he probably had to find ways to finagle
Steal.
during that time, too.
I just got distracted by Kodos because I keep forgetting that. Oh my god, that's where the Simpsons got the alien name from.
I enjoyed Spock's gambling epiphany about humans and why they enjoyed gambling. I did enjoy that. That was a nice, that seemed like it was like out of another episode. But I appreciate that. And then it was like, all right, back to the Nazi shenanigans.
They need to go to a casino planet.
I also liked that on the planet, just like on the Enterprise, every hallway was exactly the same.
Yes.
So the hallway to the lab was also
I
the hallway
noticed
to
that
the
as well.
Fuhrer's
Yeah.
place and everything else. And it was
But,
weirdly wallpapered.
I thought they just kept going down the same hallway.
They're all
Yeah.
humanoids, so it makes sense that they
Of
have
course,
the
you
same
beat me to
architecture.
it. Yeah,
And it's slightly not really 60s, but maybe could have been used for an Old West thing,
Yeah.
kind of wallpaper. Yeah.
good thing denim worked there for some reason.
Yeah.
For Kirk's
Kirk, yeah.
disguise going down.
They
the
were
square
basically
jeans.
wearing their outfits from Sitting on the Edge of Forever.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like how
yeah.
they still wear their uniform boots. That was crappy.
Oh.
Yeah.
They gotta have the high heels.
Like, I got my
Shatner's got to
heels.
be raised up those couple of inches.
I also thought, going back to that
What's
they
she
kept
done
getting
here?
caught by surprise, like, oh crap, and oh, we caught you, we have our guns on you. It's like,
Those wide
can someone lock a damn door?
That-
And finally, the woman, she locks the door after they're in there with the Furies, like, oh, I got an idea. Why don't we lock the door behind us? So that if someone shows up, they at least have to break through the door before they can get to us.
I liked, like, we need a quiet place to communicate with our ship. Why? It takes too long to explain. I'm like, but there's no one here.
No.
Literally no one in this
No.
hallway.
No.
You know, just kind of, here's a broom closet.
Yeah.
That
My-
you
The
two can sit
cloakroom.
in.
Yeah. My
You
thought
two
was
can sit in this room.
my thought was maybe it was because they were trying to hide the technology from the two people they were with or something, but
If they
I don't
have
know.
ships, I
Yeah,
assume they
right.
have some sort of communication.
True.
Yeah, it was just definitely very much. We talk about this every episode. It's like, wow, there's an entire world, but it seems like there's 16 people on this entire
Yep.
planet.
And the whole planet is completely the same. They're all
yeah.
about the
Oh,
Nazis.
yeah. It's all homogeneous.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, the whole planet bought into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There weren't factions that didn't. Yeah.
That's just really that's Panic at the Disco also got that from Star Trek.
So, men, women of Star Trek. Steven, you're still on. Or you just got to Anne Mulhall.
I'm going to stick with Animal Hall. Much as I appreciated
That was the last episode, wasn't it?
Davo.
I'm going to stick with Nurse Cindy Lou.
Was that last episode too?
No, that was the episode. Oh, yeah, it was. It was. Keith?
Well, still on the planet, so committed. What do you do?
Still
To merge
Hedford?
Hetfield?
Yeah. It was a whim, and I don't really regret it yet. I mean, it's
Give it a few years.
commitments are commitments.
When we get to season 20 of next year, all of them, you're still on Merged Hedford. Now we have to reset every season.
Oh, that's right.
Jess, you are on Spock's suit.
Was that piece of the action? Was that the last one you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to do all the ones where they go to a planet where it's been changed
I
into.
said I'm
Oh,
gonna
she-
come for all the
you're
finish.
insistent.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So you're probably not going to like pick one of the armbands today. for
No, probably not.
Why not?
I mean,
that uniform was sharp.
even Kirk told me it was sharp.
the-
He's like, I have a better looking uniform. No, I'll go with what's his name in the cell with him?
Oh,
Isaac.
James Dean, the guy, the leather jacket guy.
The guy,
Isaac.
the guy
Yeah.
whose wife
Isaac.
died.
Isaac. You like Isaac.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's alright.
Just after 5 short hours of being spat upon, I guess.
In the street.
That was
Poor
probably the
lady.
worst bedside manner.
I know.
If Colleen gets shot in the street, nobody tell me in that manner. Please don't tell me in front of strangers. Please take me
It's
aside and
like-
say, hey,
Hey, by the
something
way,
terrible happened. We tried to get a hold of you. Somehow we couldn't because somehow we're in some kind of weird
I've
other
seen
technology.
one worse.
Colleen?
Who was the Nazi spy that looked like Edward Burns?
I don't
I don't
know
know if
his
he's
name, but
listed.
let's just put Nazi
That's
spy
my guy.
that looked like Edward Burns.
That's a good call. I noticed.
So
I remember
he was the reveal at the end, like, oh, by the way, he's with us too, or
The
was
one
it?
No,
that
I
they kept
think
being
he-
like, why doesn't he recognize us?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then episode ranking.
Hmm.
Where do we want to start? I mean, we're not starting at the top. But I don't
No.
think we should start at the bottom either. Let's start in the middle. So let's start with the obvious, a piece of the action.
Dead tie right there.
No,
No, this one wasn't as funny, certainly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
And,
this
uh,
was fun. Yeah.
A private little war.
Is that the one with the battleship thing,
Mugato.
or rather the computerized digital war thing?
The
No, no.
girl, his Kirk's old friend.
Yeah,
Was
and the
Kirk's old friend or
Mugato,
McCoy?
the big white
What was
furry
it?
ape with the horn.
I don't
They're
remember that.
down
now.
the natives. It was
Okay.
like
Okay, yeah.
Klingon,
okay.
there
it
was
was
Yeah.
like
Klingon
2
there.
episodes ago.
And the evil medicine woman
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. That's
Yes.
I know I like that one better, but I'm
I'm
partially
totally
correct
comfortable
with
with
the
I,
Let's blow it
yeah.
The apple.
Ooh. These are 2 episodes that beat the theme to your head. That's for sure. The apple.
Oh my god, the apple was so over the head.
Was that an Adam and Eve episode or something? I can't really remember.
Yeah.
Where the
Val,
Val-
the
The snakehead, they had the feed.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. So yeah,
I might still put that one ahead of this.
Yeah, I like the apple more.
Yeah.
Who mourns for Adonis?
It's just this and Cat's Paw and this, right? Is it-
No, there's
Wow.
still like 8 more below this.
Oh, we've got a
Really?
bunch of,
Yeah.
we've ranked it lower. Okay.
Yeah, Who Mourns for Adonis has steadily crept up throughout the
Oh,
season.
okay.
I think this is better than that.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, what else is below? Who Mourns for
Deadly
Adonis?
Years,
Oh, okay.
Wolf in the Fold, Friday's Child, Obsession, Gamesters, Return to Tomorrow, Immunity Syndrome, and then Catspaw.
Wow.
I have to start like rewatching the entire season every time before I come here because it's like there's so many.
We got
like,
through this
I
season
know.
quicker than the last one.
Hmm.
I think just because we've had a 3-week break, and then we had a
Yeah.
3-week break before the last one
Yeah.
too. So we've had 6 weeks of only one episode. I liked this better than Who Mourns for Adonis, I think. I didn't hate this episode at all. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
I was. I guess I was entertained after a fashion. I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I enjoyed it per se, but there were.
Oh, I always enjoy Nazis.
Yeah.
I mean, Schindler's List hilarious.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm falling into I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, oh, I thought I really liked Obsession.
Except
Then I
Black
remember when we
Recruiting
actually
is
watched
just
it. I'm
look
like,
red in the
I
black
didn't
and
like it
white.
as much as I thought.
I mean, I would say that. Whether or not this influences the ranking or not, I would say that the thing that would probably stop me from pushing it up would be certainly just the crude device of copying the Nazis symbol for symbol, line for line, and as opposed to just
That didn't bother
implying
me
it.
because I feel like Star Trek does that a lot.
Yeah.
And so to me, I was just like, yeah, I accept it as part of the tropes that
They're
they
not
do.
dumb, that's for sure.
It really just made me think, wow, humans are really not good at
No.
not interfering.
No. So it's what? It's between this and Who Mourns?
Mhm.
with the giant Greek god. I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't love that either. I can't believe there's 8 we've ranked below that, but I guess it makes sense. Because I forget how much I did like them when we watched them. I want to slowly fight that. I would probably rank this below it.
Below Adonis?
I think so.
Okay. But above
like
the
fight
Deadly
for-
Years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deadly Years is a hard to stop for me, I think.
Which one was that one?
Where they get really
They get
old.
old.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Keith?
it's probably above that.
Above Deadly Years?
Yeah.
But above or below Adonis?
I can't decide that one. I can barely remember Adonis. I feel like it's hard to say. I'm almost trying to judge by sets and costumes at this point, but Nazi seems kind of lazy, so
So it's going below Adonis.
yeah.
Okay.
But they were both topless.
So Jess wants to bump it up because of toplessness.
Well,
Right.
Topless Nimoy
I've
actually.
never
That's
seen
a good.
that one, so I don't know.
That's true.
That's-
as much kid as Julie Parrish showed in Who Mourns for Adonis, they showed more in that. Although Adonis also showed a lot of skin.
He did.
Yeah.
The next one is called By Any Other Name. Galactic alien scouts capture the Enterprise for a return voyage and prelude to invasion. Kirk's one advantage: they're not used to their adopted human form.
Mm. I
Another
feel like they gave away a
another
lot.
body
Hopefully I'll forget by then.
stature.
Yeah,
Then we have the Omega Glory, then Ultimate Computer, then Bread and Circuses.
the Omega Glory is another one that's like, oh, here's another thing from Earth.
But then Bread and Circuses, and then we end season 2 with Assignment Earth, which I love. I love
Okay.
Gary 7.
Yeah,
that's a
that's
great episode. That's 1960s Earth. But they're on actual 1960s Earth.
What?
I think we just talked about this last episode, but is there In Truth No Beauty? That's season 3.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Which is one you love, or
that's what I like.
I
That's-
like it
yeah,
too,
that's what I
yeah.
like. So that's at least one to look forward to in season.
There's a few in season 3.
There are.
So we'll see you next week for that episode. Body snatchers, whatever. And until then,
Don't interfere in some other planet's business.
and if you
unless
do,
you mean well.
Please follow.
No, 'cause
and if you
clearly
do,
he meant well.
learn from history.